The Outlander fandom had seen scandals, rumors, and emotional storms before, but nothing like this. Overnight, every major entertainment page, gossip forum, and fan community exploded with the same headline: hidden relationships connected to Sam Heughan finally surface. Some insisted it was a hoax. Others claimed they had seen the signs for years. But within hours, it became clear that something big, something buried, had finally cracked open. It all started when a former production assistant, someone who had worked quietly in the background for several seasons, posted an anonymous statement online. The message didn't accuse Sam of wrongdoing. It didn't claim scandal or betrayal. Instead, it hinted at something far more complex. Sam wasn't alone during those years. He just chose not to share everything with the public. That single line spread across social media with lightning speed, igniting speculation about what exactly had been hidden. Fans began digging immediately. They revisited old interviews, public appearances, travel schedules, everything they could find, to uncover the truth behind the sudden claim. The assistant's statement included one more cryptic line: if fans knew who it was, they'd understand why he protected it. That was enough to send Reddit into overdrive. Entire threads dedicated to Sam's private life resurfaced, with thousands of users speculating about the mysterious person referenced in the leak. But the real shock came when a second insider stepped forward, someone from within the Outlander production team who had worked alongside Sam for years. This person described moments of quiet affection and emotional closeness that had nothing to do with publicity or staged chemistry. According to them, Sam had a private relationship that ran parallel to his rise in fame, hidden not because it was scandalous, but because it was fragile. He didn't want the world to ruin it, the insider wrote. He didn't want noise around something that meant so much. The fandom didn't know what to make of it. Theories piled up. Footage from behind-the-scenes clips was analyzed frame by frame. Fans searched for subtle gestures, private conversations, or unexplained disappearances during production breaks. Suddenly, interviews where Sam refused to talk about his dating life took on a new meaning. Fans noticed how his smile tightened when reporters pressed too hard, how he always emphasized privacy, almost as if he was protecting something, or someone. Then came a leaked email from someone in the PR department, dated years ago, mentioning Sam's sensitive personal commitments. The email wasn't explicit, but it confirmed one thing: the studio knew. And they helped keep things quiet, not to hide a scandal, but to maintain Sam's mental and emotional stability during a period of overwhelming fame. According to one PR staffer, he was terrified of losing the one thing that felt normal in his life. As the fandom sifted through the flood of information, journalists began publishing long-form analyses. One article from a reputable entertainment magazine stated, Sam's hidden relationships were not romantic scandals, they were emotional anchors. Another reported that Sam's off-screen world was far more complicated than fans realized, shaped by intense filming schedules, overwhelming expectations, and a need for real, grounding connection. The most explosive part of the leak came from a sound technician, someone who had been present during late-night shoots when the cast was exhausted and vulnerable. They recalled moments when Sam would step aside during breaks to speak quietly on the phone, his tone soft, affectionate, almost relieved. The technician said, those calls kept him going. You could see the difference in his face after he hung up. This revelation hit the fandom hard. For years, the public had drawn conclusions about Sam based on limited glimpses, polished appearances, and fictional roles. But the leaks suggested he'd been balancing two worlds: the public persona crafted for fans, and the private connections he fiercely protected. A connection that didn't fit the narrative fans assumed. Then, a final piece of information surfaced. A message from someone who described themselves as close enough to know, far enough to speak. They wrote, Sam never hid relationships to deceive anyone. He hid them because they were real in a way fame could never handle. The fandom froze. Because if that statement was true, then the truth behind these hidden relationships wasn't about scandal at all. It was about survival, emotional survival, Human survival. And for the first time, fans began realizing they had only ever known the version of Sam the world was allowed to see. As the frenzy around the leaked information intensified, more insiders began stepping forward, each revealing fragments of a story far more emotional and complicated than fans ever imagined. A longtime crew member described Sam as someone who loved deeply but privately, insisting that the hidden relationship wasn't about secrecy for its own sake, it was about protection. He wanted to preserve something real, the crew member said, something untouched by fame, pressure, or the expectations placed on him because of Outlander. That sentiment echoed across several new leaks. One assistant who worked closely with Sam during the show's most demanding seasons recalled nights where he lingered on set long after filming ended. At first, they assumed he simply needed space. But eventually, they noticed a pattern. He was waiting for a message, a call, or some small connection with the person he trusted most. He wasn't hiding love affairs, the assistant explained. He was holding on to emotional lifelines. The narrative took a dramatic turn when a journalist uncovered a series of internal memos from years earlier, indicating that the studio had been aware of Sam's private relationships, but chose to bury any rumors to avoid distracting the fandom. The memos referenced emotional dependencies, heightened vulnerability during production, and one line that stunned readers: his off-screen bond must remain off-screen. The studio, fearing disruption, had actively supported the silence, not out of malice but in an attempt to protect one of their biggest stars. Then came the leak that shifted everything. An audio clip surfaced, brief, muffled, but unmistakably real, recorded during a late-night shoot in Season 3. Sam's voice was heard speaking to someone just out of frame. He wasn't acting. He wasn't rehearsing. His tone was gentle, warm, stripped of the polished charm he used in interviews. "I wish you were here," he said quietly. "You make the long nights easier." The clip ended abruptly, but it was enough. Fans lost their minds. Who was he speaking to? Why had this moment never been seen before? And why did he sound so vulnerable? Insiders rushed to clarify that the relationship wasn't the scandal fans were imagining. It wasn't forbidden. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't hidden for shock value. Instead, they painted a picture of a connection built on understanding, encouragement, and emotional grounding. One that began before the fame hit, and was preserved to survive it. Sam needed someone who saw the man, not the character, an insider said. And he fought to keep that separate from the world. But things became even more complicated when an editor who had worked on promotional footage revealed that multiple moments between Sam and a certain individual had been deliberately cut from official releases. Not because they were scandalous, but because they revealed too much. According to the editor, the footage showed Sam, unfiltered, with tenderness and ease that made the PR team nervous. It wasn't romantic in the obvious sense, the editor explained. But it was real enough that they didn't want fans misinterpreting it. The fandom, already in chaos, became divided. Some believed the hidden relationship had always been obvious. Others insisted it was fabricated. But the final blow, the piece that truly shook the Outlander community, came from a retired crew member who had remained silent for nearly a decade. Their testimony arrived anonymously but was verified by multiple sources. According to them, the truth behind Sam's hidden relationships wasn't about who he was seeing. It was about who he was protecting. They explained that years ago, during the early seasons of Outlander, someone close to Sam endured a deeply personal crisis triggered by sudden media attention. Paparazzi intrusion, online harassment, speculation that spiraled out of control. Sam was devastated and blamed himself. He vowed never to let someone he cared about be dragged into the spotlight again. From that moment on, he built a wall around his private life, one almost impossible for the public to penetrate. The retired crew member concluded with a statement that silenced the loudest critics. Sam didn't hide relationships because he was ashamed. He hid them because he learned, painfully, that the world doesn't know how to treat the people he loves. That final revelation reframed everything. What fans had interpreted as secrecy, mystery, or even deception was actually a man trying to protect the only parts of his life he truly considered his own. And with that truth finally surfacing, the Outlander fandom realized something they had never fully understood. Sam Heughan wasn't hiding love. He was safeguarding it. Because sometimes the most real relationships are the ones the world never gets to see.